How bad was sex education in high school? It was the worst. That's why we wanted to start this podcast. Dr. Stormy and I knew that there are so many folks out there that want to learn more, that want to start conversations, that want to be vulnerable and express their feelings, emotions, wants, and desires. And that's what Sex 101 is about. Dr. Stormy has spent so much time working with couples, working with men and women. I myself have worked with lots of men talking about relationships and sex and where we're at today with our sexuality. So come join us. This is going to be a great episode, just like all Sex 101 episodes. You're going to learn a lot, you're going to laugh a lot, and we're going to have a great time. All right, everybody, we are back, and today is a touchy subject, which happens to be your TikTok, by the way, touchy subjects with 3 S's at the end. But we don't want to shy away from things. This topic came up because I was actually talking with a friend, and it's interesting because we always talk about healthy sex relationships. And one of the things we haven't really discussed is sometimes you just aren't in the mood, or sometimes there's reasons to not have sex. And you want to, in the best way, be able to say no and feel confident in your no, just as much as you're confident in your yeses. And so we wanted to talk about this and there's a lot going on here. It's not just a simple answer we're about to give you folks.
Yeah, totally. I appreciate that acknowledgement, Toby, right? Like, it is a touchy subject because there can be abusive relationships, emotionally, sexually, physically, abusive. There can be neglect in relationships. That is, and then your no and the ability to say no and maintain your safety is different and important. So today we are talking about not those things. We're talking about in a healthy relationship, how you can say no, how you can best say no and honor your no, and also be thoughtful and not have it negatively impact your relationship. Because I think I can just say personally, I've been there earlier in my life where I was just like, no is a complete sentence, which by the way it is. No is a complete sentence. Like, just no period is a complete sentence. You don't owe anyone the explanation to your no. So I've had times in my life where it was just a no, but my partner felt hurt by that. Maybe felt rejected or whatever might be going on for them by that, right? And I mean, no, meaning no to sex, right? No to sex. And then there's been times in my life where I've had sex and I didn't want to. And that's equally, if not more so, hurtful to myself, right? Because I'm not listening to myself and my body's intuition. So I want to be really clear that I absolutely saying you honor your no. And relationally, what are some tools that you can fully honor your no, and also be thoughtful of your partner, not because you have to, but because you're wanting to. So that's just kind of like the back caveat about that. But I, wanted to start like, no one owes anyone sex. Like, that is absolutely, for me, definitively true. No one owes anyone sex, right? So just because you're in a relationship does not mean you owe your partner sex. And I have had on social media, men and women both say that. And then I've had the opposite of saying, don't, that about using sex as like a weapon or a manipulation. So I'm of the mindset, no one owes anyone sex. No is a complete sentence. That you don't, and it's not healthy to use sex as a weapon, as a power move, or as a coercion, right? That's not what we're talking about. Like, we don't want you to use sex as a weapon, a power move, or a coercion. We're talking about when you're just not in the mood and your partner is, right? That's really what this is about. This kind of no we're talking about today. So, and I want, I guess one thing I think about when I think about the no is there's always, you mentioned there could be so many reasons that your answer, your desire to have sex is a no. So, but notice, is it occasionally a no? If you're noticing that is habitually a no, just be curious in your own quiet time, not in the moment of no with your partner, but what might be behind that, right? Because a no can also be a sign of other things in the relationship. Yeah. We talked about in the last episode, what happened in the bedroom shows up in life, and what happens in life shows up in the bedroom. So are you noticing no only to sex with your partner? Are you noticing no showing up a lot for you in other areas of your life? Just getting curious in your own time about what might be underneath your no. Not because your no is bad. Your no is not bad. Your no is absolutely to be honored. And then, I think also the more we start to practice and honor our no, the more we totally trust our yes.
Yeah.
So for me, times in my life where I had sex and I didn't want to have sex, and I'm not talking about abuse, but it was just like, either I felt obligated or dutiful or whatever it was for me. first of all, the sex was never good for me. And second of all, I felt like I betrayed myself, right? So I lost faith in myself and the wisdom of my body. So, but getting curious about what is behind your no, it might just be like you're stressed out, or you're hurting, or your abs are sore because you worked out too. I mean, you could insert a million reasons, none of which are excuses. They're factors and reasons. And then and then noticing that pattern in your life.
Yeah, I love that. I think oftentimes we react to the world or our environment or relationships without even understanding why we're doing that. It could be something from our past. It could be,
Totally.
there's lots of things that have happened in your life that might be leading to that no, and or lots of things that have happened in your relationship that might be leading to that no. It could be as simple as you're tired from work, or the kids, stress, all, there's a lot going on in everybody's lives these days. But I really appreciate that. Like, hey, I just want to recognize I am saying no, aren't I? And that doesn't mean bad. It doesn't mean bad. Like, what? But getting behind that, like, what is that? What is this? And talking with your partner about it. We are talking today about trying to have healthy relationships here. An abusive relationship. If you're in a relationship where you can't say no, please find a friend, email us, talk to us. That isn't healthy or safe for you. But the relationships we're talking about here is, if you're saying no and you don't have any reasons or understanding why, that's something you should think about. Same way as if you're just saying yes all the time, like
Yeah,
look behind that
absolutely.
and see,
Mhm.
like you said, it kind of helps you see who you are, and it will help your partner understand you and your reasons and your thoughts. And it won't just be a no then, because you're right. It's really easy when you
Right.
hear a no. It can be hard to hear no, especially when we're talking about sex.
Yeah.
You can't feel rejected, but
Yeah,
if your partner
absolutely.
knows the reasons for your no, it's a lot easier to understand.
Right. And I think that's really important to because I have been in an abusive relationship myself, so I'm very passionate about this subject. But you don't owe anyone an explanation to your no or your boundaries. But in your relationship, you may want to offer them one because it's a kind thing to do. And it also helps them understand you and your no, right? So you don't have to, but you may choose to, right? And that for me was really empowering to practice that and learn that and to get curious about my no. Because there also can be a habitual no. So noticing again, like I said, are you saying no to lots of things in your life, right? Because no might feel like safety, right?
Yeah.
No might feel like protection. Or it might be like literally the answer is no, I'm not open to sex right now. Those have a different, and again, you can honor and should honor both, but this is for you to be curious about if this is a pattern in your relationship. And again, it's also how comfortable are you with your no? Is your no or your partner's no impacting your relationship negatively? Maybe it's not. Maybe this episode's not for you and there's no negative impact to that. But I can also tell you, I've been on the flip side in my marriage where I was the one wanting sex and my partner was saying no. And I felt so rejected and really I took it on. So it's what set me on this path to learn and study everything I can about sex and sexuality and intimacy, because I felt like a shell of myself. I felt like something is wrong with me. I'm constantly being rejected. And so so I'm really passionate about this subject. And I didn't have the skills now that I have, then that I have now to be able to have these conversations in my marriage about what was behind the no, because I would have loved to have understood his no better, but I didn't have those skills. And so we want you to have those skills to be able to have these conversations. And again, if you're going to have a conversation, I don't recommend it in the moment of the no, right? Because your partner may be feeling rejected, or you might be feeling like obligated or dutiful, none of which is going to lead to fulfilling or connected sex. But to have these conversations outside of the bedroom, wow, I'm really noticing that I'm not feeling connected to my sex drive right now. I'm really feeling disconnected from my orgasm. Those are really powerful things that can build bridges in your relationship and still honoring your no.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Two things that stand out to me. One, we talked on the last episode a little bit about love languages, and I think that two, when you say your no, you can help your partner along by still recognizing whatever their love language is. Like maybe love language. One of the love languages isn't having sex. It might be
Right, right,
it might be
right.
touch, but it's not having sex. Isn't a love
Great
language.
point.
But
Right.
if your partner was really looking forward to having sex with you, but you tell them no, you can still meet them on their another love language. Maybe their love language is quality
Mm,
time, so you can just sit and watch TV with them or snuggle
yeah,
up, or
beautiful.
you can still love your partner even if you have a strong no. You still love them, and you want to maybe
Yeah.
sex isn't the way you're going to care for them today, but it might maybe cooking a big meal or giving them a gift or something like that, just to still show
Mhm.
like you aren't trying to avoid them. It's just right now, this is your no. And then I'll say
Yeah,
this too,
I love that.
you were talking about your relationship in my marriage, and this was not my ex's fault at all. It was mine. I think that our sex life had gotten it had definitely dwindled as the years had gone by. We were
Mhm.
married for 20 years. I at a certain point I realized now, but in the moment, I didn't really have any. I never said no because I thought this might be the only time for a few weeks or something. You know what I
Mm.
mean? And so at
Mhm,
that point,
mhm.
I thought, oh, if she wants to have sex, I can't turn it down because who knows when we'll have sex again. And
Wow,
and
yeah.
and so I didn't look behind my no in that moment. Like, I don't really know if I want to have sex right
Mm.
now to see why am I feeling this way, or why do I feel obligated to, like you said, or just I thought I would. I think a lot of times the guys I've talked to have been in that situation too, where they're like, yeah, sex is like once a week, and maybe it's a quickie, and at least I was able to have sex. You know what I mean? And that isn't
Mhm.
for a guy that isn't, and for everybody, that doesn't feel good to go. Well, at least I'm getting it. Like that isn't
Right,
that isn't that
right,
isn't healthy sex or vibrant
right,
sex.
right.
So I
Yeah,
wish,
that's really
in
well
retrospect, I would
said.
have looked back at my own boundaries and been like,
Mhm.
regardless of the outcome, if I don't feel like having sex today, I'm not going to do it just because at least I got it. You know what I mean? I don't,
Right.
that
Yeah,
isn't a
right.
healthy way to be for me.
Yeah, right. No, I think I really appreciate that. And you mentioned something you said made me think of like, what is your no specifically about? Right. So this is something for you to consider. Like maybe it's no to sex, but like you mentioned, maybe it's not no to like laying there and holding each other or sitting next to each other on the couch and sharing a glass of wine, whatever it is. Or maybe it's
Yeah.
just like, no, I need my alone time. I want to read my book and throw on my sweatpants and go to bed, right? Like, so what is it specifically the no? Because we can be very myopic where it's like, no, no to sex. Well, okay, but what about like kissing and making out? Maybe just, making a meal together, going for a walk together, right? Or is it just no? Like, no, no, I don't want to be interacting with you right now. Like, right? Then maybe
Yeah.
we're in conflict and I'm still holding it, right? There's so many scenarios. So that's why this is a super broad episode, but such an important episode. And like you said, Toby, and I appreciate that. We don't want to shy away from hard things. We're talking about touchy subjects, right? This is the Sex 101 podcast. And no is absolutely a part of everyone's sexual experience and needs to be, right?
Yeah.
So, and relationally, one of the questions I get, and I have my couples coming to me a lot with, and actually our next episode is going to be about a difference in sex drive, right? So the no and understanding your no and communicating your no is even more important when you have a mismatched sex drive.
Yeah. You're exactly right. I just really like where this episode's going. The more I think about it, just like you said, you do have a no. So don't shy away from it and honor your no, but finding out why you feel that way. What is it? How many times are you saying no? Just like you said, just softly
Mm-hmm.
just take an account of, oh, well, actually I've said no for 2 months now. That there might be something there. It might be nothing. It could just be a busy season of life, whatever. And if that's either way, you're going to find out more of your reasons for that no, more of your boundaries, and those boundaries are really important. Like your partner isn't your everything, and you can't fulfill them, or they can't fulfill you with everything. And sometimes, like you said, sometimes you just want to be alone. Like, I love you, but I just don't want to hang out with anybody right now.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Like,
Totally.
I'm going to continue loving you, but I just need it.
Yeah.
I just want to hang out with the guys tonight, or I just want to hang
Yeah,
out with the girls, or what.
absolutely.
All of those
Right.
things are totally good, but
Mm.
figuring out why you're feeling those ways will help both of you for sure.
Yeah. And I think that's like the last thing I want to say about that is like offering some insight, you know, is just a way to connect more deeply with your partner. Again, not because you have to, but because you're choosing to. So for example, saying to your partner who's making an advance because and we don't always, but your partner making an advance and showing you their attraction, it does take courage, right? Even in the long-term relationship, because there is the risk of rejection, and it's your partner showing attraction to you, desire for you. So that's a beautiful thing. So it's lovely to be able to acknowledge that, even if you're like, no fucking way, I'm not interested in having sex right now, right? For whatever reason,
Yeah.
that your partner still is right. You're is a human who you love who is interested in having sex with you, right? So that's a good thing. So I always try to remind my couples like that's a good thing that there is like desire and attraction there, right? And so to offer, so let's say my partner's making an advance to me and I'm like, oh hell no, right? Like that's my inside voice, right? Like absolutely not. Hell would have to freeze over before we're having sex right now, right? Um, I can literally just be like, no. or I could be like that, hell no, right? Which happens, by the way, like, and maybe some of you out there listening can identify with that. I certainly can. And my partner internalizes that in a million ways. I'm not attracted to him. I'm a bitch. I'm cold. I'm hurting him, whatever it might be. Insert so many possibilities. Or imagine that I say, right, so now we're separated, right? We're leaning apart from each other. Or I say, you know what? It's really a hell no for me tonight because I am feeling so stressed out from this thing that happened today. Or I'm feeling like just not good in my body, and all I want to do is throw on my sweatpants and have a cup of tea, right? Now, imagine those different, same outcome. You're honoring your no, and imagine relationally what the differences are. Okay, so this is just a practice. This is an invitation to fully honor your no and maybe do so in a different way that's supportive to your relationship because you're choosing to. So there's a huge difference, right? So it's offering some insight, offering some kindness. Another tip that is really well studied is if you're no, let's say it's a no, and you're like, but I really like, that really lands for me that you want to, like, thank you. If that's your real experience, and I'm open to having sex tomorrow, right? Or whatever it might be. Like, so not because you don't owe your partner at all. You don't owe them sex. It's you just being like, it's a no for me right now, but I'm open to seeing what happens tomorrow. Or you know what, I'd love to just lay here with you, right? Like, there's so many different things. So I just, again, we want to be really clear. Your no is your no. And then how might you deliver your no? Not because you have anything, you don't owe them any explanation, but because you choose to.
Right. Yeah. I love that. I think this episode is really getting at your no is yours. And so you should know why you're saying no. You know what I mean? Like that just understanding yourself is key here, because your no, like Stormy said, definitely honor it. Like, there's a reason you're saying no. I mean, you have a reason. So knowing those reasons, and then, allowing your partner to not feel only just rejection, like just a no, oftentimes, like you said, you are getting rejected. There is some rejection there. No, I'm not going to have sex with you tonight. That doesn't mean you don't love them. That doesn't mean you don't care for them, and you care for them and love them in many ways. Sex is just one component. So make sure you understand that and your boundaries. And I think that is the key, because then you will honor your no more. Like, if you know why you're saying your no, you'll totally know it. Just like, you'll know your yeses.
Right. And you might not know in the moment, particularly like with trauma past and things like, it just might be like a somatic, like a body-based no for you. And that's totally okay. And you may have some insight into that later as you think about it. And as you sit with, like, what was behind that, my no for there for me, and I've actually even said to my partner, like, it's a no for me right now. And I don't know why, but this is what I am open to. Right. Like, beautiful. You don't have to know, but then and it's also interesting because, like, the latest research out there shows that compared to just going along with sex when you don't want to, which again, to me, like, really makes me lose trust in myself and my body. But they've actually shown that turning down sex doesn't necessarily hurt the relationship satisfaction, as long as, like, you're doing it in a relationally positive way. So that was kind of interesting that, like, it actually does, it's the non-relationally supportive ways, or the just no with no understanding around it, or the no is a habitual pattern that can relationally negatively impact. So I thought that was interesting in the research.
Yep, 100%. I love this. I think this is one of the things where oftentimes, because our lives are so busy, we do have so many responsibilities. Sometimes sex can just get, thrown by the wayside, or, oh yeah, we'll do it. Oh, of course I love my spouse or my partner or whatever. And I just think understanding, wait, you know what? We haven't had sex in a while. And the reason I've said no was because, I'm grieving, or work is really hard, or there's so much going on, or I just haven't been interested in sex. Wonder why I'm not interested. And then there's a whole nother path that, there's lots of answers for yourself to find. And when you have those answers, you are able to be more informative to your partner and share all of that.
Absolutely.
All right. Moving on. Let's go to Stump Stormy.
It's time to Stump Stormy.
All right. Now, I know you said you love chocolate, and chocolate can be an excellent arousal for having sex. But apparently, the smell of what can help increase the blood flow to the penis to encourage an erection? The smell of what?
No.
I'll give you a hint. It often, this is maybe one of the reasons why there's a lot of August babies.
So I would say it's got to be something vasodilating if it's going to increase blood flow to the penis. But the smell of, I don't know, like cut grass or something. I don't know. And I also have no idea why that's what popped into my head.
No, do not drive by Stormy's house if her boyfriend's cutting the grass. Do not drive by her house if they're doing lawn maintenance. No, pumpkin. The smell of pumpkin. Yeah.
I had I mean, it's so funny because I love the smell of pumpkin.
I know, that's what I thought was interesting too. It's always pumpkin lattes for the.
I was just gonna say, think about like the Starbucks craze with pumpkin this and pumpkin.
I know, but it says it increases the blood flow for an erection. So
interesting. Obviously, it's vasodilating. Okay, see things I learned on the Sex 101 podcast. Love it.
Which makes me sad. I do not like pumpkin hardly at all. Like I don't like pumpkin pie. I like pumpkin seeds. But pumpkin as a flavor, get it away from me. I don't care at all about it. Never have. So, okay. Let's get to some listener questions.
Have a question? We've got answers. Here's this week's listener questions.
First question. I went on a first date last week, and we had a great time. And ended up having sex. But since the date, we have only texted 2 times. And I'm wondering if I should bring up if the sex was bad. And this comes from, I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
One of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah, I love that movie.
All right. So my question for our listener, and I say this very lovingly, but provocatively, is, well, was the sex bad? Like, what's your perspective of how the sex was? Because, right, you can have sex that is not great, and you can have sex that's great, and everywhere in between. So, in your estimation, was the sex bad? Which is different. And if the answer is no, the sex was great. You said you had a great time, so I'm assuming the sex wasn't bad. Then my question is, then why are you assuming in any way, shape, or form that the sex was bad? Because there's a lot of assumptions you're making by throwing out that text. So long-winded way of saying I would absolutely not say that you are wondering if the sex was bad. If they think the sex was bad, let them tell you, right? You also get to see how someone communicates here. So because otherwise it's just an assumption. An assumption is almost always wrong in some way, shape, or form, or many ways, shapes, or forms. So, but otherwise my guidance would be just to just chill. But if the non-communication is the issue for you, then you can address that directly with something along the lines of like, hey, I felt like we had a great time and a great connection, and it's a little surprising, like, and I'd like to see you again, or it's surprising I haven't heard from you, or whatever. That's more direct to what is causing you grief without assuming that it was about the sex.
Yeah. I think that's a perfect answer, Stormy. All right, next question. I grew up conservative Christian and was told porn is all bad and to avoid it always. Now that I'm older, I'm wondering if there's anything that you can learn that is helpful by watching porn. And this comes from, I just read Playboy for the articles.
So I am not someone who works with porn as with my clients as like good or bad or wrong or right. I just think there's enough of that. I like to approach it a little bit more holistically. But what I will say is that it is acting, right? It is, well, we know it's literally designed to be addictive, like to more and more and higher, like, right, faster. We know that the intensity can increase with usage. But that what I always say is that it is many times, most of the time, not what a woman looks like or sounds like in pleasure, right? It is also not how a really fabulous lover, in my opinion, as a woman, how a male lover would make love to me in a way that I would want to be made love to, that would in my mind would make him an amazing lover, right? It's a lot of it's a done for the voyeur to feed the voyeur fantasy in many of us. It's very visual, right? So it's higher, harder, faster, furious, right? You can kind of find different kinds of porn, but in general, but it is acting, right? So that being said, I think if I zoom out and I think about what could be good things from porn, would be like position inspiration, right? Seeing new things that you maybe didn't know felt erotic to you, and then it does. Like that, like let's say you watch a bondage scene, and you're like, oh, I didn't know I was turned on by bondage, but I kind of feel turned on by that. So that kind of thing can be good, a good exploration. Also, it does feed the voyeur fantasy, which many of us have, right? So you get to watch and not participate. Okay. And then I think if you're interested in it, like I really recommend, and we've done an episode on this about ethical porn or female forward porn, they call it, but it's porn where the woman's in full consent of the scene. They are really often very much enjoying themselves truly. So it has a different flavor, feel, sound, look to it. But you can look at different female forward porn sites, that if that's something, and then you know that the actors and actresses are paid well, that they're in full consent. It's a very different type of porn than you will often find on the free sites.
Yeah, I think be careful with it. I don't. I do think oftentimes porn just sets up unrealistic images and ideas of what sex between two people is, and it's often from the masculine point of view, like almost like you said, unless you're specifically coming from the female perspective, it often is from the masculine point of view. And so it can be a fantasy, but yeah, I would say be careful with it. Porn can give you a lot of thoughts, and it can be fun, but it could potentially not be helpful also. Okay.
Yeah, I explained it to my son. With my son, I said, when he was younger, I was like, it's not good or bad or wrong or right, but I said, but if you like have only ever had like really crappy, let's say like McDonald's vanilla soft serve ice cream, and then you go, and that's all you've had, tons and tons and tons of that, and then you go to like Florence and have like the most amazing gelato, you're gonna be like, what? This isn't ice cream. This is what is this thing? Because you've had so much of something that is of less quality than the actual real thing. And so it can be, and I just gave him that example. This is when he was much younger, because I want, like, it's not about, and I'm not into like shaming around porn. We have enough of that. And so to your point, also, what is your relationship like with it? Does it serve you? Does it serve your relationship? What is your relationship to porn, and how does it feel for you?
Yeah. Email us any of your questions. You can email Stormy at lovedeeplab.com. You can email me, Toby at marriagesupply.com. Thank you for sending in all those questions. You can get 10% off at Marriage Supply with Sex 101, code Sex 101. Follow Stormy on Instagram at .stormy1, or her TikTok, Touchy Subjects with 3 S's, Marriage Supply as well, the.marriage.supply. Thank you guys so much. Always send in those questions. Always send in your topics. We really do appreciate it. Because knowledge is power, sex is power.
The world needs more of both.